like it's 3:30 and it's black as night outside. I mean, it's like it could have well have been 11:30 at night, looking out the windows, and we all got the text alert like, "There's tornado warning. Like, seek shelter now." We're like, "Holy crap!" So the manager says, "Let's all go to the designated shelter," which is like the little hobbit hole under his office, under his up at the front of the store. So there are only a couple of customers in the store. There's this elderly couple, and we're like, trying to be like assertive and yet semi-calm at the same time. So there's a tornado warning. We need to go to the front of the store and go to the temporary shelter for a minute. And this old guy's like, I don't believe it. And he starts walking real slow. I'm like, and he's inching his way towards me. And I'm like, survival of the fittest. The strong survive. To the front. And of course, like, I'm not about to fireman's carry this old guy up to the front of the store. Like, if the store falls on top of you, I'm fast and you're slow. That's how it's going to be.
Okay. I did my best.
It's like, I don't believe it.
Okay.
It's like they walked in and they knew that the storm was like really effing bad. I mean, the clouds are black and darkness and looking nasty. And as of right then and there was still no tornado warning or tornado watch for that matter. Yeah. Just really bad storms. But then all of a sudden, boop, and everyone's phones went off. You hear them like throughout the store. Everybody's phones go off. Get the hell to shelter. And this guy's like, brr, brr, brr. Like, later, old man, I'm going to go save my ass. So all was well, so we got through it, and I drove home, and there were a couple of trees came down. I saw a couple of trees. One road was blocked, actually, in my neighborhood. But I made it home and had some leftover Chinese for dinner and took a nap, and here I am.
All right, well, there you are.
Jeff, you said you had to go to the garage?
Yeah, it's kind of like okay, I get the alert. Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, yeah, whatever. Then I'm like looking at the TV and they're like, yeah, it's supposed to be there at 3:55. I'm like, okay, that's first. I don't think I've heard them ever say something's going to show up at a certain time in the actual city of Morton Grove. Quite frankly, Morton Grove isn't exactly on the map, at least in terms of most likely anything. Needless to say, and it was funny because then all of a sudden I heard the air raid sirens, and I'm like, might need to consider this as legit. So we were down there for a few minutes.
Wow.
We were down there for a few minutes, and really, in reality, I think it was one of those like. Boop, boop,
was there like awkward silence among the peoples?
No, because there's a lot of old people in our building who are like, "Why do I have to go downstairs? What's the big deal? Why do I have to do that? Why can't I just go in my room? I'd just be fine." No, you have to come here.
Not if the building collapses over you.
Yeah, that's okay. I had to have that conversation with my mom because she's like, "Oh, we'll just go in the bathroom." I'm like, "Yeah, that was great when we lived in a house. When we lived in a house and we had a main floor, that was a great idea. We're now on the 4th floor of a 5-floor building.
Right.
That's not a good idea. The smartest place to go is the garage that has no windows at all."
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But it's the first time we've had to do anything like that, in this building. So, it's I knew where to go immediately, but
it probably struck a nerve with a lot of people who probably thought, it'll never happen.
Well, as it is, it's like, I mean, look, let's be honest. When was for out near Mike and McHenry, okay, there's been tornadoes. But as soon as I say this, it's 2020, I shouldn't even say this out loud. But Ivan, when is the last time in your memory, like being close to Chicago or the close Chicago suburbs, that we've ever had like a tornado?
You've seen some water spouts over the Lake Michigan,
long
right?
time, as long as I can remember.
Right. I mean, as a kid, okay, there were a couple times where it's like, okay, got to get downstairs, but not where there's never really been like a tornado to hit like.
We've had a lot of
the North Shore burbs or like the city or anything. Nothing like that.
Well, we had the tornado watch, the tornado warning. Until now, like this became a tornado watch. You're kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Are you the okay? So I'm going to ask both of you guys because you're retired radio people as well. Hey, have you also forgotten now which one is which?
What, the emergency alert or the?
No. Which one is which is the one where we need to go?
Well, it's usually when you hear the air raid sirens.
No.
The civil defense.
I mean, in terms of which one's the one where it's like, okay, watch, warning. What the fuck's the difference?
Well, the watch is the tornado watch is like conditions are favorable, and warning is like the rotation's been spotted in the clouds,
right?
Or they read the rotation in the radar.
Right. I used to know that. I used to remember that stuff, and now that I'm like no longer a radio guy, I'm like, what the fuck's the difference?
The two. I mean, watch and warning. Which sounds more menacing is warning.
Yeah, they're two distinctive things.
Yeah. I just got a text. I just got a text from a friend of mine. He's been without power for 4 hours.
Oh shit! That's always the worst, man. Oh, so sorry, dude. Wow.
That's Bill up by the lake. Yeah.
Yeah,
once upon a time, I used to be like, oh shit, that sucks. But I gotta be honest with you, they got stuff now. I mean, I saw something the other day on like. My mom called me because she was talking about it. She showed me something, and I almost thought we should get it, which is they had like a mini power generator that you could charge that if, God forbid, something were to happen, you could pretty much turn that thing on, and it would pretty much charge up the entire apartment. You could pretty much be fine for like a few hours. And I'm like, jeez. I mean, you could kick that thing on and be just fine. Like until, depending on how long the charge goes. Right. And if you had a couple of them, you could probably put a couple of appliances on there too and shit like that.
I got a generator in the garage.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that problem.
And at least I can plug in the fridge so I don't lose any food.
That was always amusing too. Like when I used to work.
That's the best one. I mean, you want to keep whatever's cold. That way,
Yeah, we had a bad storm I think in 2012, and it was in July, so all the trees still had lots of leaves, so they were great. At getting pulled down and stuff.
Right.
And the power was out for like a day and a half, and we scrambled to the local supermarket to get ice, and the ice was going fast. So we were quick. We grabbed a bag and we saved some frozen food, and then it was good till the next morning when the power came back on or whatever. So.
Right.
But then Dad made the conscious decision to say, okay, it's time to get a generator, and we did that fall. So I test it 3 times a year.
It's funny because see, you guys. It's funny. My last radio gig, when I was working at Sporting News, because when we worked at radio stations, it was like if the power went out, guess what? No radio station. Thanks for playing. Okay, power's out. There ain't no show. Yep. You get a whole bunch of people in a foreign and accents in foreign languages screaming at you, and you're like, "What would you like me to do?" But when I worked at Sporting News,
raise your mighty hammer and bring power to the station.
Yeah, seriously. But when I worked with Sporting News, because they're a legit company, I'm like, they had everything. They had everything. Like the power to go out and be like, okay, we're fine. My favorite it was funny because there were a couple times where I'd run into the host on overnight and they'd be like, and they'd be talking about stuff. I'm like, yeah, hopefully the power come on soon. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we're on generator. Really? Yeah, really. Didn't you catch that? No. Okay.
Yeah, lights flickered here, but we didn't lose power. But neighboring towns, they got hit pretty bad.
We've had a couple of drops here, but they were like slight, and everything here is still cooking. So,
well, it's like I'll be sharpening chains all week at the store. Everyone cutting their branches and trees and such.
Just in time for more do-it-yourself projects at the store.
That's right.
There you go.
So, Jeff, how was your week? How you doing?
I'm okay. I assume we're starting we started the show.
We started.
A while back.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome to the Squares of the Roundtable podcast episode. With Mike and Ivan, and I didn't remember what number we were on.
111. It's our 11th episode.
11th episode.
The 11th episode. Good Lord.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
Oh, I hear Ivan. They got the sirens. Ivan sirens. Did you get anywhere near any of the? Oh my God! Of course, the front page news this morning when we all woke up, it was the damage. It was a lot of looting and rioting down. A quick side. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Jeff, but I'll get to you in a second. But
no, that's fine.
But just the rioting and looting was like a stone's throw away from my cousin's house on Larrabee and North.
Oh Jesus!
Right there, like where the Apple store is. That got destroyed pretty much.
I think, again, I'm going to go back to something we said a little bit last time. The only difference is this time there was no protesters. But I'm telling you, someone's finally been watching movies or playing role-playing games. Because they're really kind of planning this shit out. They actually
they're playing out the fantasy of the game.
Right. They're doing recon, scoping things out, picking times when they know nobody's going to be around, picking it, they've got this precision. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying rooting for those guys because obviously they're criminals and they should be caught. But it's kind of like one of those where it's okay, the way you'd hear it, it's okay, they came down the street in a caravan and boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it was
they
coordinated.
Hit everything, and it's like some sort of Michael Bay film, or Jerry Bruckheimer film or something.
Definitely choreographed.
The problem is we don't have the Autobots to come out and stop them or some shit.
Right, you don't have Bumblebee to urinate on them or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Or Will Smith and Martin Lawrence ain't coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, no motorcycles driving through plate glass windows or anything like that.
Right, nothing like that. Or Tom Cruise just show up and start shooting away or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not happening. And the closest we're going to get is a short black woman with a shoe who might come after him. But
a short black woman with a shoe.
Well, and I don't even think she's that scary anymore, Lori Lightfoot anymore. It's we're going to do stuff to you. Yeah, they organize themselves to the point of where it's damn. Yeah, you can be angry, but damn. I don't know. I just, like I said, that's the part everybody's lawlessness, blah, blah, blah. It's there's a part of me where I'm okay, so which movies have they been watching to figure out how to do this? Because that's all I can think about.
Right.
Yeah.
It does get you to think.
Well, the interesting part is it's other than, I could be wrong. I may not have heard anything, but maybe you guys caught something I didn't. But other than getting into a firefight and obviously we don't want them to get into firefights with cops, and we don't want cops to be hurt, but other than that, I didn't hear anything about civilians being hurt or anything like that in all of this, right?
Well, they arrested 100 people, and I think a dozen cops got hurt.
Yeah, I think 13 of them.
Right, but not civilians. You didn't hear anything about.
No, because no one's out in the middle of the night like this.
Well, and that's my point. Is it's if I was going to pick a time to take a caravan down a street and just bust open a whole bunch of places.
Start doing smash and grabs.
And doing smash and grab. Yeah.
That would be the time to do it.
Sunday night / Monday morning at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, there shouldn't be anybody out.
It's dead over there. at that time of night.
Absolutely. You know. And then to top it off, supposedly they got phone calls about something that happened in Inglewood, so they sent all the cops down there. I mean, that's
the setup.
I mean, seriously,
yeah.
somebody's playing.
It'll be a choreograph, this whole thing.
I'm telling you, somebody's played some Dungeons and Dragons or something, because
choreograph the whole situation.
Yeah,
right.
We must send the local constabulary over to this side of the city, and then we shall raid our attack. And make your saving throw, and my dexterity, I rolled a nat 20 on dexterity, so the plate glass destroyed.
And obviously the Chicago Police Department rolled a natural 1 because they blew it big time. But
state of affairs. Okay,
back crazy shit, man.
What do I got going on?
Back to you. We're talking about your week.
No, that's fine. I just binged the hell out of Yellowstone. I mean, I've been between that and Brand New World. I'm not done with Brand New World yet, but I've watched about 4 or 5 episodes. If you're looking for stuff with some nude content, Brave New World, absolutely. And I never pronounce that guy's name, but the guy who played Solo, and I can't remember Heinrich. What's something?
Yeah, the guy who played young Han Solo.
Yeah, he's good. He's good in it. It's interesting. I'm about midway through. Yellowstone, I actually caught up to where they are in this season right now in season 3. It's interesting. Again, the best way I can describe it is it kind of is a mix to me between HBO if you took HBO Succession and Dallas from back in the 80s, it has a feel of both of them to this. But
Dallas was a little more campy, right?
Right, but, it was more, you've got your bad guys, you've got your good guys, you've got family squabbles, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You got the big Ponderosa, they got the big Ponderosa thing. The difference is that was mostly just for show in Dallas, whereas here it's, legitimate, they do cattle and they do all that shit. But, it's, Costner's really good in it. There is some nudity in that too. So, if you're looking for that, but it's a solid show. It's one I'd put on the recommend list. Again, Brave New World as well. I saw something called Hitmen, which is on this, again, a Peacock release. It's like a British comedy, and it's like a one camera about these 2 women who are hitmen, and I honestly, I was waiting for it to end. It's just not my thing. I would not tell anybody to watch that thing. I just wasn't. There could have been some funny stuff, but it was really dry, and I got really bored. And no, trying to think anything else. Did some storytelling on Sunday. Oh, not Sunday. Did some storytelling on Friday morning at the Cocoon, and then worked on another piece at Windy City last night. So, I'm trying to think if there was anything else of note, but that and I seem to have figured out how to cook. Other than that, life is good.
There you go.
Oh, good.
All right, now it's your turn, Mike.
Okay. Let's see. What did I do? I went back to work. Went back to the shit show. No. I've been back on vacation for a week now, and I taking a bit of a Gesundheit, Ivan.
Thanks, Ivan.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I said. Excuse me.
You're excused. For now.
Off button, isn't there?
Well, you don't want. We say.
I took a bit of a promotion. It's not a lateral move, that's for sure, but that's good though. Because one of my coworkers is going away. He's going to be manager at another store, so good on him. We had a going away party for him yesterday, and there was beer. It's fun. Isn't it weird drinking alcoholic beverages at work?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Very
it's weird. It's like, should I? I'm like, yeah, I will.
Shouldn't that bitch be allowed at a hardware store?
No, not operating power tools and alcohol do not mix.
No.
Again, should it be allowed at a hardware store?
Yeah. Mm.
I feel like that's just like...
But, never felt comfortable drinking.
It's like, you have like a cookie jar in your kitchens?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the
cookie
jar...
Yeah.
The cookie jar I decided needed to be filled, so I said not Oreos, the vanilla wafers, those ran out. So I was like, let's get a new cookie. So I'll get Chips Ahoy, and I was like, oh my god, like I've been addicted to Chips Ahoy for a while. I'm like, oh man, this is dangerous. I'm like,
oh no, those I'm bad.
Because you know what? And they're a little smaller now, so yeah, like 3 cookies in a sitting is now become like 5. And like, whoa, like I went through a bag like in a dangerous amount of time. Like I'll be seeing Wilford Brimley soon, so I got to be careful. Rest in peace, Wilford Brimley and diabetes.
Rest in peace to you, goddamn giant Kamala.
Oh yeah, Kamala died. That's terrible. Yeah. Which WrestleMania was him? Was he WrestleMania 5?
I don't think he was in a WrestleMania. Was he
in
WrestleMania?
Didn't he have the title for a short while?
No.
Or I'm thinking something else. I have to look into his IMDb or whatever his history in wrestling. But I remember, the Ugandan giant. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that post you put up that Mick Foley had a positive experience with him. So.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, he. It's funny. Kamala probably was one of. I mean, my understanding is he had both feet amputated.
Oh my God!
Supposedly from. I can't remember what the deal is. I wonder if a character like Kamala would even be allowed on TV now.
Yeah, or Yokozuna.
Yokozuna maybe, but the Ugandan.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Bless you.
Gesundheit again.
You.
Thank you.
Gesundheit again.
No, it does not look like
I was thinking of
he was ever in a WrestleMania.
Never in a WrestleMania?
I don't think so.
He was, for a short while, he was top tier.
Yes. He did fight Hulk Hogan at one point.
Yeah.
He did fight Hulk Hogan. I'm trying to see where. It says 1980. Okay, so it says in 1984, Kamala challenged Hulk Hogan for the the WWF Championship. Wrestled him to a double count in October. He began a series of matches with Andre the Giant. Wow, that must have been. Wow, could the ring even hold? Wow, okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. But Kamala was gone apparently by November of '84. He debuted in July and was gone by November.
What happened? Health issues?
No, I just think it was a contract thing from what I can tell. It doesn't really say. It doesn't really say. Obviously he wrestled.
It was just a one and done type of thing.
Maybe.
I guess.
Oh, you know what it is here? He returned in '86. Here we go. He did return in '86 again. '86 to '87. Let's see. Did he actually do? It doesn't say whether or not he did a WrestleMania. I gotta imagine he might.
Then I guess we're taking it for granted that he never did a WrestleMania, though.
But he did face Hulk Hogan again in '86 and back in '86 again, and then it looks like, according to this, he faced Jake the Snake. But it looks like he left in September '87. So I would imagine he was at
I heard that Jake the Snake was quite the drug addict.
There's a phenomenal documentary on Jake the Snake that was done by Diamond Dallas Page that's out there. I have not seen it,
I'll have to look
but
at
I've
it.
heard really good things, and I would
look
love
at
to. Here, you know what? Here's what you might be thinking of. So I guess he came back in the 90s, between 92 and 93, challenged Randy Savage when he had the world title. Lost to The Undertaker at SummerSlam.
Maybe that's it. It was a SummerSlam, not a WrestleMania.
I don't see anything about. It's funny. I see about a bunch of other stuff, but I don't see.
Maybe he had the
anything.
Intercontinental, but oh well.
No, he never had that title either.
Well.
I don't think he had any titles. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think he.
He just needed to come in and out of the situation. It wasn't like.
Here, hold on. Championships.
Huh?
I'm looking to see about championships to see if any. No, he never held. The closest thing he held was the United States Wrestling Association title, and he held that 4 times. And why that's of note is because that's what eventually World Class Championship Wrestling became with the Von Erichs. But that's actually the first time I saw Kamala. Was as a kid. I think I saw World Class Wrestling with the Von Erichs.
Yeah, and that was pre WWF.
Right. Yeah. Well, in fairness, we didn't. In fairness, that was still when things were. How can I say? Were very territorial back then. So the WWE didn't get from out east very much. So all that stuff with Hulk Hogan and that stuff didn't start really hitting until they made those deals with cable, and we got to see some of that stuff because really in the Chicago area, World Class was huge because they would air World Class on Saturday nights, and they had the Von Erichs, and they were a draw in the Chicago area, believe it or not. It was kind of surprising because they were from Texas.
Uh-huh.
So, but
Ivan, you got a fan going?
Yeah, that's my air conditioner.
Cutting in and out during,
Yeah,
Sorry.
but
okay.
Sorry, you were talking about other stuff too.
You I didn't get a second look at the Netflix Transformer series, but I'm watching more reviews of it because now I'm like, okay, I watched it, now I'm free of the spoiler space, so I can go and see whatever the other people think of it. And just looking back, it's like, of course, it's rose-colored glasses for me, but then looking back and being more analytical about it is like, yeah, it was serviceable. I gave it initially a 4 out of 5 yeah-mans, but now I'd have to kick it down to like a 3.5. I mean, it's just...
Oh, really?
It's just... It's not exceptional. It's decent, and it's... One guy called it brand maintenance. And I think it's a good analogy for it.
Ivan's in the meat packing plant.
He's in the freezer with Rocky. He's punching the meat.
Oh.
Hey, Ivan, you're training, okay? You got to go get the hold of the Rocky.
That's right. Right. You got it, Penguin.
What are you doing over here? Whoops. Well,
huh?
Hey, Rocky. Right. I, too, watched an episode of Yellowstone.
Did you?
The family wanted to watch it, and they're really into it. They've been into it since, I think, early season 2. So, okay, I watched an episode dry, and, I guess I went in raw, no lube. And I'd no knowledge of backstory or nothing. I just went right in, and then this season 3 episode. And, yeah, it's like The Sopranos, but with cowboy hats.
Yeah, it does have a little Sopranos to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, where it's
bit.
the patriarch, Kevin Costner's the dad, and he's the and it's all about the Gristle. It's Gristle. He's Gristle old man. I'm going to take my land away.
Well, and the one chick I shouldn't even call her a woman. Beth probably more of a man than anybody in that.
She's got the chrome steel balls, that's for sure.
Yeah, seriously. Holy cow. But she is gorgeous, I will say that. By the way, she if you thought, I can't remember what episodes, but in an earlier season, she's nude.
Okay.
FYI.
Well,
Yeah,
right.
and it's all the women dropping all the F-bombs, man.
Yeah.
And the guys just being all like kind of cool and like nothing had phased them, and they're talking slow and they're all kind of easygoing and Gristle. and the hard as nails businesswomen be all like F this and F that and F you. But it's all right. I can see the appeal and it's compelling television. It's good TV.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's a good watch of an hour.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
and Kevin Costner, he's solid, man.
Yeah, no, Kevin Costner kind of, it's funny. This is kind of a good role for him. I think he's past that point where he's in that weird spot in his career where it's like, I'm not a TV guy, but I'm not who I used to be with movies either.
Yeah,
and
they did that Wolves thing, some years back, and it got a lot of acclaim.
Well, he's done a lot of things.
Oh yeah, he did a lot of stuff. A lot of good Kevin Costner movies. Some of them were just okay, but he did make a lot of good movies.
He did do a good bunch of movies, but then for one or the other, it's like for every one you have a couple of flunkies, and then you have another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to start having to, given everything that's going on, we might have to cut him some slack on Waterworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotten crazy enough. Waterworld might be legit. He's got the three. He's got three good. That's the big thing with Costner. Costner, Dances with Wolves. Obviously, he won all the acclaim for. But the three baseball movies are really what kind of really put him in that. Have you seen Bull Durham, right, Mike, or no?
Yeah.
I Bull Durham, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's great in that. And then Field of Dreams, he's phenomenal in.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know if either one of you have seen Love of the Game.
I didn't. I didn't see that.
It's
one.
with him, and Travolta's wife is the love interest. And it's good. It's not as good as the other two, but it's solid. He's just done a lot of those really solid.
I haven't seen that one either. So yeah, that would be worth a search.
Yeah, it's called. I believe it's called For the Love of the Game. There are a few other things. I'm sorry. What am I talking about? He did the Robin Hood movie. The one where you made fun of him, but
the Bryan Adams movie, the Bryan Adams music video movie.
Yeah.
And the Whitney Houston music video movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that. That's right, he did the Bodyguard.
I was in broadcasting school when that song came out. Oh God, it was the only thing that was on the radio. It's like, and I'm listening to the radio. I'm doing research. I'm gonna be a radio guy, and I turn on the radio, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan.
Here's the thing. Here's what I remember about that song. It's because we had to play it on the student station, and we got into a debate with one of our instructors about how you run levels on that song, because when she hits that one note where she really nails it, it pins all the way into the red, and you're like, well, it's going to overmodulate. And we spent I swear to God, no lie, we spent 40 minutes in class debating this. We literally went down to a production room for him to prove to us it wouldn't overmodulate if you put it in the right spot on the board.
Yes, it
was really. I thought Ivan would get a kick out of that. But yeah,
unbelievable.
We literally got into an argument. It was funny. We were supposed to talk about. I can't remember what we were supposed to talk about in that class. I think it was like a production 102 class, and it's like, you need to watch your levels. Oh yeah, what do you do with Whitney Houston? Well, I will always love you. What are you talking about? We're like, good luck trying to get the level on that. You have to start it like the You have to practically ride the level the whole way. It's damn near impossible.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you don't. You don't have to. And I said, oh, we spent
Well,
45
bullshit.
minutes. 45
Anybody who's
minutes
ever
going
done
back
that
and forth.
will tell you need to ride the level all the way to the nose. Because
No, it was just always funny because it's like, yeah, that's one of those songs where he's like, oh, the song is designed to do. No, it's not. No. It was funny because usually I'm like the only one who will say anything, but like everybody was like, no, we've had problems with that.
Well,
yeah, no, you guys you're still learning your understanding.
And a lot of
show us, oh great wise one.
The thing is that a lot of the big stations, they have limiters, so it'll keep them from burying the needle, so to speak.
Yeah, not the student station for the University of Indianapolis. Nope.
No, that's bare bones when you're talking to those
and not.
No, concussion. No,
Actually,
none of that.
They might have had it, but the shit show places where we usually work, hell no. Did I ever tell you, Ivan, about the time that? Did I ever tell you about when I worked at WSBC and the guy with his Static Shock just basically shorted out an entire studio?
Was he wearing a big wool sweater?
No! I guess for some strange reason at the WSBC studios when I used to work there, they had a real problem with static.
With dry air, maybe.
With air. Yeah. With air circulation or something. So it was funny because like stuff would turn off once in a while, and it literally was like if you like touch something on the board would turn off or something like that. Well, one of the brokers went to the back studio, and he touched the board, and he hit, and apparently the shock ran through the ground, shorted out the entire board.
Damn.
Oh my God.
Shorted out the entire radio board.
Oh, took out all the production for that day.
Forget production. We were running that studio as a live studio for one of the stations.
Oh shit! Oh no!
Because where we were,
bad.
we were running.
I mean, bad is bad, but that's really bad.
Well, no, I mean we were running. Okay, so we were running out of that facility at that point. We were running.
Right.
We were running Ironically, we were running NDZ, but I wasn't running it. We were running 8:50 a.m. We were running 1490 CFJ.
Okay.
And we were running 1240. All out of that.
Wow.
Out of that facility. And so we had multiple people who. The only good news is because we had so many stations we were running, there were at least two producers / board ops there at all times. So when that went to hell, at least there were two of us sitting there going. And of course, the engineer is just taking his sweet time to get there. Doesn't show up for like 4 hours. Doesn't show up for like 4 hours. I got screaming Russians. You get the idea, but yeah,
Do you want a career radio? Listen to our stories. It may let us think about it.
Well, honestly, our stories are half the reason why you want a career radio, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the shenanigans.
It's kind of not got nearly as fun. I wonder how much fun it would have been to work at a big station in some ways.
You know what? I guess we'll never know, right?
Well, right. I mean, it's just the part where it's like, what? So you just sit there and you do a couple of things that they do, and you got to add coffee or whatever the fuck they want or all that other shit. And I don't know. You've never dealt with life when you're sitting there and the person that's sitting across from you can't speak English, but you got to figure out what his next transition point is.
Well, I mean,
you ain't lived.
No, you ain't lived till you've had to do that, or have to take cues in an entire different language, or worse yet, you hope you're as good as their last sound man, because the sound man, golden status. You're kind of like cowering at the fact that, okay, are you going to sit there and, make me crazy now because I'm not like your original guy?
So the funny part is, though, Ivan, is that you and I never had that problem. We were always on the opposite end of that one.
Well, yeah.
We were always on the opposite end because whoever they had previously, we always ended up being better than that person by a lot. And then, we take like a day off, and you'd come back, and all we'd hear from is seriously, why you gotta make my job so hard? What are you talking about? Well, all they did was talk about how that's not how Jeff would do it. Jeff would do this. Why don't you do what Jeff does? Blah 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 blah. I know I know they do the same thing with you too. It was hysterical,
Well, it was just because, all right, it was a learning curve with that whole situation, and it's well, I'm here. Let's see what this is, and it's a coping mechanism of sorts. You're trying to work with the ethnic, brokers and everything, and then it's just you're oh my gosh, it's seeing after a while you kind of get this hang of it, trying to politely and everything, unless of course you're like me one day going ahead with an open mic story, ripping right through a Greek Orthodox show. My ass should have been fired for that, but it proved to be more comedy and funny, and I ended up getting away with it, thank goodness. But the point of the matter is, it's all about just that whole thing. I mean, who does that now? Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple people who still do it. I mean, the place that I was working at last for that, which is over with NewsWeb, because NewsWeb owns 850 and 750 and 1240 and all those guys now. So all that is over there. It's funny because it's almost every station at some point that I worked at is owned by NewsWeb now, with a couple of exceptions. Because I think they own the Bear too. I could be wrong, unless they sold that off.
I don't know because I only worked for the Bear. I worked for the Bear. I think it was there for maybe 3 months, but I think it was some really cruel, underhanded bullshit from the administration just to get me out of the way. Because of the fact that they knew I was working their days, and then I'm going over there at night. When was I supposed to sleep? So eventually, they caught me face down on the board. That was my big slip.
Well, sleeping on the job. That's grounds apparently.
No, and of course, rightfully so. But it was just a really jacked up type of a situation after Kevin Q. Harvey stole the format from me and put it underneath his own name and shit, then it was just that whole ridiculous thing. Of course, the ridiculous way they ended up escorting you out of the studio, which that was crazy.
That was funny. That was funny because I laughed because I just, why would you tell somebody who you're planning on doing that to a whole shitload of information?
Right.
You shouldn't have told them at all.
Yeah, Jerome. Yeah, we talked about how Jerome.
No, not Jerome.
Oh.
Me.
Oh, you.
They told me what their logo was going to look like. They told me when the launch date was. They told me about format. And then they fired me. And I'm like,
okay then.
Feeder. I can go to Feeder right now. I mean, my favorite is I called, who did I call? Because I saw Tony the next day, Tony Jacobs, who was our other boss who was over with Douglas. I saw him because he was like, so I heard what happened, because he heard through the grapevine from somebody else. Because they were all that was my favorite part. Part of the reason they did it was because somebody who was working there at the time, Douglas had done it to them, and they thought they would be getting back at Tony because my family was friends with the Jacobs. And they thought, this would send a message. And I'm like, this ain't sending no message. I mean, Tony knows my family, but that had nothing to do with anything. You're just being stupid. But okay. And it was funny. I'll never forget, because I said to Tony, I'm like, what do you want to know about their shit-ass station and how it's not going to work? He couldn't stop laughing. He couldn't stop laughing. He goes, why? What do you got? I said, what would you like? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you mean? What you like? I'm like, well, I know what the logo's going to look like. I know what the color scheme is going to look like. I know what the launch date is.
Oh.
And he's like, but my favorite part was he's like, they told you all that and then they fired you. Yes.
That's like the supervillain telling James Bond how they're going to take over the world, and then they set him free.
I swear to God.
Oh my God.
They could not have done him. I mean, I swear to God, the best of all time was that, and I know we talked about this, but the best of all time was that day that I'm literally like, I'm at Ivan's apartment, and he hasn't even turned on the radio, and he's like,
yeah, he looks at the clock, and this is the song. Yeah.
Forget the song. Here are the next 10 songs in a row that they're going to play. In order. In order. This is exactly what they're going to play in order from this time as soon as I turn on the radio. And he is not one deviation at all.
That's not smart.
I mean, that's just... And the funny part is, Ivan had been gone from there for a month.
And they didn't deviate the playlist.
No, not one bit.
Yeah. So anyway, Kevin Costner, Yellowstone, good show.
Yeah.
Went from Kevin Costner to I Will Always Love You to broadcasting school to radio to.
What a beautiful thread we just made. That was cool.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Yes, very interesting tapestry we just wove.
Yes, indeed.
So, Ivan, you've been what you been doing? You've been spinning. You've been twitching. You've been live streaming on the Facebooks.
Well, I went to go see Julie later in the week, so I canceled my Friday Twitch show, which I usually did from 7 to 11, and I went to go see her and see how everything was going with her. And of course, she's going through a little bit of a rough patch, but prayers are appreciated if you got them. And so, as far as anything else, I went to see her. Then I did a spin for the Rumble in the Jungle page, and it was interesting because the person that was running. Okay, let me put this to you guys. All right, if you're an administrator of a page, is it up to me to call you, to wake you up in order to turn the page on from private to public?
What was that? What's the question?
The question was, if you were an administrator to a page.
Oh, like a Facebook page?
Like you got a Facebook page that I'm about to run. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, am I supposed to be responsible for waking you up out of a sleep in order to turn the page on, so people can watch it?
Or is that where you on?
What are you talking about? I mean, like you're live streaming, like not on your own Facebook page, or what?
No, I wasn't doing it on my own Facebook page. I was doing it on Rumble in the Jungle, on the Rumble in the Jungle page.
Okay.
And so what it was that,
if you're not an admin, then someone has to change the settings on the page.
Okay, see, there it was. Okay, so what ended up happening was I ended up broadcasting to nobody that whole hour that I was on. And then, we got into a discussion about it, and it was just like, well, she told me that she was going to, she said for me to call her and wake her up because she hadn't slept all night. So it's just like this whole thing. And then I got on, I did to nobody, and then next thing you know, it's like okay, so I redid the situation the following night, so that way everybody got to hear the Spanish thing that I did. Which I saw that you caught a bit of it. Was that you, Mike?
No. Hello?
Hello? Yeah. Yeah, did you catch the Spanish thing that I was doing last night?
I was watching a little bit of it. This was Sunday night, so
yeah,
I caught
night.
a little bit of it. You were spinning.
Okay, so I was doing that, and then I was
wait, doesn't the page have its own? Aren't there people who like the page? So shouldn't then people who like the page been able to watch you?
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what happened there. It just was one for the book, and it was just like, okay, and what happened, and all's forgiven and everything like that. It was just kind of crazy, but it is what it is. And so then, I did the spinning wheel all dayer, which I was the last on the bill, and I was having a good time because one, it was in the afternoon, so it was okay. And I asked them, and I said, hey, you guys want another hour? I'm just sitting here. The records are just sitting here. So they, we kind of did like an after party thing with them, and it was nice. I got called back to the scooter sound supporting the National Health Service. I had the name all wrong. I felt like such a fool. Somebody told me finally what the NHS meant, but I thought it was the National Honor Society, and I just kept saying it. But then,
ow!
Yeah, nobody stopped me from it until later.
That's a big difference.
Like, oops, I didn't mean it though. I mean, it wasn't. It just that's the first thing that popped up in my head, so I just went with it. And he goes, no, Ivan, that's no jiving. That's National Health Services. I'm like, oh, be sorry, be bad. It wasn't intentional. So, and what else? And that was it. Yeah, just did a lot of virtual DJ things. I got the Sweet Soulful Sunday happening this Sunday coming up from 3 to 8. Brought to you by Logan Arcade, which the weekends they're open and they are selling beer and they're selling hospitality. So if you're in the area,
we're selling beer.
Okay, well check it out. 2410 West Fullerton. It's Logan Arcade. Tell them Jive Central. Anyway, but other than that, everything else was just kind of just watching the cats and shuffling the records around and just watching the pages on Facebook and just doing random things, calling up friends, getting in touch, reaching out. And also I got in contact, or rather I had woke up to it. It's a great page of the most fabulous female jocks, DJs, that have come to light. It's called Slow Fizz. And what they do is that they're doing half-hour sets from women DJs from around the world. It's the most fabulous program. And I got wind of it through Debbie Benjamin Kohler, who, of course, was one of the founders, and then Cher, who I was just recently on with, supporting, scooter support for the National Health Services, and I was spinning with them, and so it was like this nice little event that happened on Sunday morning. It was really good. So if you get a chance, people, check out the Slow Fizz, it's called. They did it all dayer last week, which was stellar. There was 12 female DJs doing wonderful format, just great technique and wonderful personality. And then also there's also a Sunday morning, Slow Fizz Sunday morning, which also happens. They all have Facebook pages. You can follow them there, So, yeah, that's some of the involvement I got in with over the last couple of days, other than just feed the cats and feed myself and see what other records are hiding around here. That's pretty much all I've been doing.
All right, cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, keep on twitching.
I'll try to keep on twitching.
Why did you not use that as an intro?
Huh?
I demand to know.
What?
There's a guy I know who's good as gold from Bedrock. Twitch.
Jivin' Ivan Rock Roll Rivera.
Yeah, seriously. You could be Jivin' Ivan Rock Roll Rivera. There you go. You can rewrite the whole thing. There's a guy I know on Twitch all night here from Public Square. Twitch.
Well done, Dev.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
I'll take it.
Well, Ma, where's my dinner?
Oh, Fred. Oh, Fred.
Yeah.
Hey, Fred.
Yeah.
Brontosaurus burger. Burger's bigger than your head.
Hello, Devs.
Yeah, and Harvey Korman as the Great Gazoo. Yeah.
Great Gazoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that was always some of the best episodes.
Well, that where it's kind of like now it's no longer like caveman stuff, and now they're doing all kinds of magic shit. And it's like, nah, I don't know.
It was always about the animals who did like, the work and stuff.
The baby pterodactyl was the needle on the record player, and
yeah,
talking about the elephants that were the plumbing, the washing.
Right, the baby woolly mammoth under the sink was the dishwasher,
And they'd always make the weird comment like, "Hey, it's a living."
Yeah, that's right.
There's the pig that was on garbage disposal.
Right. Right. Well, it's more like a boar, it had like tusks or fangs or whatever you want to call it. So it would eat everything they put in the thing. But well, yeah, John Stevenson. Yeah, he was at the same BotCon I was at in 2001. I really wanted to meet him because he was Mr. Slate, man. He was my childhood,
Oh, yeah.
Is that the same guy who played Spacely in the Jetsons, or no?
No, that's Mel Blanc was Mr. Spacely.
Okay.
Did old boy there.
But John Stevenson was Mr. Slate.
We finally have gotten to the point where we're like the Jetsons now. Everything's on TV.
Yeah, everything's Skype. Everyone's
yeah, seriously.
Well, I mean, it's wild that a cartoon for an adult audience in 1962 would reflect just the very thing that was going to come years ahead of
like we're watching TV on our watches, on a phone.
Yeah. The only thing I'm really glad we don't have is flying cars.
No, we don't have hovercraft.
We Americans, we would mess that up real bad.
Forget Americans, just in general, we fuck that up.
Just humans in general, yeah. Holy shit! Do you see that that explosion in Lebanon last week? It was like right off a movie, man. That was
wow.
crazy. It's terrible, terrible tragedy.
Wow.
But the fact they let all that explosive material sit there for all those years. And then they just they show the before and after picture, just the crater, where the building was.
Wow.
It was scary, man.
Wow, that's that'll make it real to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Trying to think what else. It's funny with this past week, a lot of the TV and whatnot news has been it's all about announcements about stuff that's getting rebooted or remade.
Yeah.
It was I guess Alyssa Milano and Tony Danza are talking about a new Who's the Boss?
No, Tony Danza how is he still young enough to cope with that? I mean,
I think he's in his 50s.
No.
50s.
Alyssa Milano's pushing 50.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Alyssa Milano might be pushing
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe a little closer to 60. All right. Don't tell me.
60. Oh, hold on a second. Now I got to check.
Hey Siri, how old is Tony Danza?
I said that on purpose because I want to see him, bro.
69, Ivan.
Okay, 69, but he still was in his 60s. Okay.
Oh, wow.
No, you said 60.
Okay,
Yeah,
I said
60.
Okay, fine. Kill me.
No, I'm not going to kill you. Not until the show's over.
I mean, if we're not going to kill you for coughing and sneezing and
burping
and all that other stuff, we're certainly not going to kill you now.
I get the show character. Come on.
Yeah. Let's see what other news we got. Who's paying $30 to see Mulan?
Nope.
Show of hands. Show of hands.
No.
Yeah, nobody.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well,
Hell fucking no.
What if you got? But hold on a second. What if you got a family of kids? Like if you've got 4 kids.
Pretty much.
Hey, Ivan, if you had
What?
4 kids, it would cost you more than $30 to go to the movies.
Well, yeah. Well, that would be. That's $120, man.
No, what are you talking about? $120. You only paid $30 once for the one TV.
But if you have 4 kids,
Right.
Did anyone know that they
Wait,
made
hold on
a
a second. Stop. Where did you get $120?
you have 4 kids, 4 times. Shit. See, I had it right first time. Okay, I screwed it up.
No, it's okay. I'm just like, where'd you get $120 from it? Like,
Because if it was $30 a piece, there were 4 kids.
Yeah, but it's not It's not $30 a piece. It's $30 per household.
Oh, per household. Well, that makes more sense. But how many?
Right.
Okay, how many kids in a household? That means it's $30
Right,
a
right.
2, 3, 5.
And now another installment of Math with Ivan.
Yeah, really.
Okay, shit.
I swear, sometimes it really is.
Math is not my strongest point. I'm so sorry. Others hate me.
Yeah, anyway, short answer, no. I'm not going to see
not
it.
for me.
No.
Did anyone know, hey Ivan, did you know that they made a sequel to Mulan?
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
I went on Disney Plus, and the original animated Mulan is there from 98, and they made a sequel, Mulan 2, in 2005. I did not know this.
Yeah, I saw it.
No, I did not.
Mm.
But I mean, without the musical numbers, without Mushu, without the male love interest, I don't give a shit about this Mulan.
Well, here's the real answer. For $7, I can watch the animated film. I watch a whole bunch of other stuff. And
Yeah,
it's
it's the originals on Disney Plus for free.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So
now
nope.
here's my question. Right.
No question.
Here's my question to you, Mike.
Yeah.
What if this was Black Widow?
I'd ask a couple of friends to chip in. We'd have like a viewing party. That'll take the sting off.
By the way, that was the other comment that started to come around. Was like, oh, Marvel fans are clamoring for them to do the same thing with Black Widow. I'm like, no, they're not.
I'm not.
No,
I gotta split it up.
nobody's
I'd have to
clamoring.
invite 2 of my friends over, and they get paid $10.
Well, my favorite is always when the comic book media or it's like this comic book media. It's like
Yeah.
people are clamoring. No one's clamoring to pay $30 to see that movie. 20 maybe, 30. No way.
$30 is gonna hurt a little bit.
Yeah, $30.
$30 is pushing, man.
Even if it is like a 48-hour rent. If it was a 1-week rental, maybe. But $30 for 48 hours, no.
Okay, not only that, $30, and then all the incidentals attached to it, which will be another.
What incidentals? What are you talking about? What incidentals?
You mean
soda, pretzels, whatever, candy.
That's the movie theater.
That.
That's a different animal. That's a different entity altogether.
Oh, this is at home?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
because they're going to the theater right now, Ivan.
Well, I know that.
Then what are you talking about incidentals for?
Because I was thinking about being at the theater. Okay, yeah, you caught me. All right, you're right.
Well, in fairness, there are technically. I mean, you could have incidentals. It's just different, which is now you get to pay what you normally would pay for a whole bunch of kids to have popcorn and drinks. You could go get a Lou Malnati's pizza, and that's your incidental.
Oh, I got to get some deep dish pizza in me soon.
That would be a great idea.
But no, I'd have to split it between a couple of friends. That we could say it's $10, like normal box office price. Then I'm good with it.
you go.
I thought initially, when they first announced it, I was like, you know, it's really smart. Let everybody pay the $7. And then it was, no, there's a $30 charge. And I'm like, you really need the $30 charge? I mean, seriously. I mean, right now, are they really getting, I mean, to me, this was an opportunity to boost subscriptions because you don't have enough current new content that you're coming out with on a regular basis. Whereas I'm watching what everybody else is doing right
but a
now.
lot of people like me who are big into the Marvel and Star Wars and all that, we paid the yearly subscription. And that's not up until October, right? September, October is when it started?
Right, but the amusing part to me is it is distinctly possible that, because you would have, I think you okay, Ivan?
I'm fine.
Okay, just checking. I assume that you thought, though, in your first year, you would at least have.
I thought we'd have a lot of new content.
Right, you would have thought you had more new content, and the irony is there really hasn't been. Well, some of it's COVID related.
Well, yeah, a lot of it's
Rona.
Yeah, a lot of it's the coronavirus.
A lot of it's Rona, but in some ways it's not. I mean, you know, in fairness, the truth is they took their sweet time trying to put this stuff together. And they rushed to get this out, and the truth is, they'd have been better off doing what Netflix does, which is sit on some stuff. And like I said, we've talked about this before. Netflix is supposedly sitting on, like, years of stuff in the can that they could just sit there and wait their way through this entire thing. But
Disney not doing that, and the fact that it's difficult to film anything right now, but they can still they can get the animated stuff out, and I guess they finished season 2 of The Mandalorian before the Rona hit, but they're gonna wait on that until next year because we want to be sure they get that second year of subscriptions from people like me.
Right. Which is why I kind of sit there. I mean, now in fairness, they did point. I guess I don't know.
Gentlemen stepping up.
I guess.
I'm sorry. What was that, Ivan?
It's a gentleman stepping up for a moment.
Okay.
My understanding is Beyonce did some sort of reimagining of Lion King or something. I didn't watch it.
Like, was Black is King? Is that what it was?
Something like that. Yeah, but I obviously I don't have it, and I don't know that it really drew my interest enough to want to go check it out. But they need more stuff like that. I mean, they really do, or they, especially now. And in fairness, I thought that's what they were doing with Mulan, which is, you know what, we'll take the hit, we'll take the loss leader. I mean, they must really think that they were going to make some serious money on Mulan, and I'm not sure where they thought they're. Maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe it's overseas. Maybe they thought overseas in China they'd make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, the Asian market, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
And just international audiences in general.
I don't know. I mean, was there... I mean, I guess maybe... I don't know. Maybe they would have gotten that first weekend where they would have gotten a big box office. I just don't know that they were going to get beyond that, because I heard a lot of people's reaction was, oh, it looks interesting. Oh, there's no singing. Oh, there's no Mushu. Maybe, I don't know. You know, there was no, like, real, like, oh, my God, I totally need to go see this movie out there.
No, when the news broke in January or whatever, when then they said, because it was initially going to come out in, like March or something like that, and then right before, like, right when Onward came out, that's when the Rona hit, and that's when everything got shut down, and that's now they're sitting on Mulan and have been sitting on it since March or whenever it was in the can, and now it's now they're gonna recoup whatever losses they can get.
Well, and the other problem is, and this is becoming the other problem. The other problem is that, you know, now you're in a situation where you had other, you know, all these movies that were slated for 2021 have now either been pushed back, or you got to figure out what you're going to do with them.
Right.
Because you have other movies that you've slated in 2020.
Right.
2022. And what are we going to do with those?
Yeah, we were supposed to get what was it, the Eternals, the end of this year?
Right.
That's not happening.
Now MCU, Marvel's talked about the fact
the MCU is like, that's been all the thrown us under,
Right. They were like, okay, we're pushing everything back a year, obviously.
Yeah.
But other studios just in general, okay, they got to figure out they've been figuring out their slate a year or two in advance, and now they have all these extra movies. You just don't throw the movies out there and hope it'll work. They spent money on this stuff. They want to see, that happen. But, yeah, like I said, so yeah, that was one, which is the Who's the Boss thing. I guess, Amazon's remaking or rebooting League of Their Own. And normally I'd be annoyed by this, but it is Amazon, so I assume they'll do a decent job. And then my understanding is somebody's rebooting Knight Rider too. So it's all about
I remember Knight Rider 2000, and that was awful.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think the Knight Rider franchise can. Well, everyone's talking to Siri. It's like, oh, big deal. He talks to a car. I don't know. Maybe if they do it right. I wouldn't write it off entirely.
Right.
Maybe I'm
not going to write it off entirely. And here's the interesting thing. What if you set it as a period piece?
Oh.
Like if you set it in the 80s or the 90s or something like that, before that all became...
Ooh. Before a young Michael Knight, maybe like when Kit was being designed?
No, I meant like after Michael Knight.
Okay, after,
like
okay.
Michael Knight's what, like 80, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, Hasselhoff, he's in his 70s, I'm sure, yeah.
Who was next?
Zardu Hasselhoff.
Although they have had some of those stories, haven't they, and they just haven't gone well. I don't know. If they were going to reboot entirely and go on an 80s concept.
Yeah, what is this?
Why not?
Now, speaking of, teasing content, what is this, DC thing that's coming in a couple of weeks or something?
Oh, okay, so because there's no Comic-Con, DC has created their own con.
They made their own con with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'll make my own Comic-Con because SDCC just kind of fizzled, nothing was coordinated and nobody gave a crap. It's like a few things leaked simultaneously, but didn't come together.
Well, and the other thing is too, is that so they announced a whole list of people, and it's star-studded up, obviously, and it's all virtual, and they have multiple things that they're doing virtually, and I haven't paid enough attention to be perfectly honest with you. But my understanding is our good friend Zack Snyder will be holding court, so I don't know how much I'm really all super interested. I don't know. I think they're going to have stuff up with Robert Pattinson about the Batman that they're doing, and I guess Gal Gadot is going to be there, and I can't remember who else was on the list, but you get the idea. They're going to have. They're going to bring out their their stars of, the DCEU and, their writers and all that and all that jazz. And they're going to have all that stuff. And, in theory, they're hoping that fans are going to want to attend, and check it out. And I think that they're going to get some, and my understanding is it is free. So,
Okay. No, yeah, that's what we wanted from Comic-Con. We wanted an event type thing where people could celebrate and see teasers of what's coming soon. But the problem is nobody knows what's going to be coming soon and when. So
right. Well, and that's. I mean, and that's the other thing is for example, I don't know what. Here's something we haven't heard anything about, which is normally sometimes we don't hear about Marvel stuff because they do it at D23. Is D23 happening virtually this year, or is it not happening at all? That's a question. That we don't know. We have no clue. If they're doing anything. And again, part of it might be we already know the answer, which is Marvel pushed everything back a year, and so maybe they don't have anything at the moment to show, or maybe they don't want to show anything at the moment. Whereas DC has a few things that they can probably show at this point. Because they got Wonder Woman sitting in the can, literally waiting for when can I.
It's like, what, almost a year now?
Yeah, is it a year? Wow.
Seems like it's been.
Yeah, you see that's an example of where it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see where this all goes because, look, let's be honest. It's funny because we talk about tentpole kind of movies, and it's funny because DC, Disney wants to make their money on Mulan. Well, let's be honest. Warner Brothers wants to make their money on Wonder Woman because they know it's going to appeal and it's going to have a huge appeal, and they're not just going to get the geek audience; they're going to get they're going to get everybody. I mean, Mike, let me give you perspective. My mom's like, so when's Wonder Woman come out? My mom don't care about superhero movies, but Wonder Woman. Oh, I might want to go see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and all, well, truth be told, that and a lot of what you'd call non-fans, they still wanted to go see Aquaman because Jason Momoa.
Sure.
And yeah, it's there's the draw in that regard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think it's more of the women empowerment thing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. It's funny because we're getting closer to fall TV, and we've kind of heard a little bit about here or there about some ideas of what they're going to do and where they're going to go and how they're going to do it. We'll see. By the way, did you watch any of this Lower Decks thing or no?
No. The first episode dropped on CBS All Access, and of course, the Facebook groups are all like, half the people think it's awesome, the other half think it sucks.
Right.
I'm going to have to draw my own conclusion, but a friend of mine saw it, and he's like, it's okay. I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. But it seems like it's that same level of humor that we saw the Harley and the Harley Quinn animated series and Rick and Morty. It's that same type of humor.
My understanding is don't quote me on this, I think there's somebody from Rick and Morty who's involved in this Lower Deck Star Trek
I would not
thing.
be surprised.
But yeah, that's funny because there's somebody I know who likes the Harley Quinn stuff who was absolutely shitting over Star Trek Lower Decks.
Okay.
But then again, this person's more of a Trek fan, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. I'll check it out. I'll see it. I don't want to pay $6 to see. Maybe because they're dropping each episode one at a time in a month. So I'll wait until there's like 4 or 5 episodes available. Then maybe I'll pay the $6 and then I'll watch watch them in once or whatever.
That's why I kind of laugh whenever, okay, so that's kind of why I laugh when everybody was giving me shit about The Mandalorian. When everybody was like, I can't believe you're waiting until now to see this.
Well, you waited but you waited like a couple of months after every episode aired.
Right. Well, I didn't.
Like the episodes ended, like they ended the season like right at New Year's, and you waited until like July.
Okay.
That's 6 months, 7 months.
Pay for it. Okay, but I was busy with other things. Now I had time.
Okay. All right.
I mean, that's the part I laughed about. Is like people are like, really now? Now you waited till now? Yeah, now. I went because and I hate to say it. Yeah, I wanted to watch Hamilton. Okay, great. Now I have an excuse. Good. Okay, great. Okay. Wonderful. Will I wait? Will I sit there and wait that long in the future for The Mandalorian again? By the way, that's what we need to talk about. 15 nominations for The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think we did touch upon that last week, but we
did not talk about that.
Yeah,
we did not talk about the Emmys at all. Actually, now
the Emmy nominations. I'd have to look at last week's notes. Let me see.
We did not talk about Emmy nominations because I remembered afterwards going, I can't believe it.
No, that doesn't look like we did.
No. And here's the crazy part to me, which is, I think this is the crazy part to me. Of the shows that are nominated for best drama and best comedy, only one show is a network show.
Wow. Everything's either streaming or cable?
Yep.
Oh.
Or premium service. Yeah. And that's in the comedy category, and that's The Good Place.
Yeah, the
everything
Ted
else,
Danson, yeah.
every single one in drama, in the drama category, is either from a streaming service or from like HBO or somebody like that. That's
telling.
Yeah, well, and it's I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what reaction I'm supposed to have to that, which is, yes, it's great that there's all this. This is what I kind of laugh when people say, "Oh, there's nothing on." No, there is. The problem is, there's a lot of content. The question is, can you get your hands on all of it?
Yeah, it's spread out over so many different streaming services and monthly subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
That people be all like, I don't want to pay for that. Well, then you're not going to expose yourself to that.
Right. And that's what it turns into is how much can I pay for when and where? And some people cut the cord from cable, but if you want, there's certain shows that if you want, guess what? You still need cable.
Yeah.
Welcome
back, Ivan's air conditioner.
Welcome, yeah.
That's my fan.
Okay. Well,
Welcome
we
back,
are your
Ivan's
biggest
fan.
fans, actually.
Yeah, we're your biggest fan, Ivan's fan. But
we're talking about how the Emmys are. There's only one Emmy nomination for a network television show. Everything else is either cable or streaming.
Yeah, I was listening. Listening.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's
you guys were on this wonderful roll. I just wanted to sit back and enjoy it.
Rolls.
I just it's weird because it's like it's great that there's that kind of content. At the same time, it's like networks really compete?
Are we sad
anymore?
that the networks are quote unquote, maybe dying?
I don't know if they're dying. I just don't know. It's just interesting because it's like, what happens?
It's like
how do you build excitement for the Emmys when not everybody has access to some of the things? And it's like, well, just get access. Well, great.
Do you think that television is becoming the new UHF next to streaming and other services?
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
I mean, you understand what I'm saying, right?
Right. No, but I don't. No, we're not there yet. And one of the reasons we're not there yet is a couple of reasons. One, as much as everyone wants to sit there and talk about, Netflix, not everybody has Netflix. Not everybody has Amazon Prime. Not everybody has Disney Plus. Not everybody has access to all this stuff that we're talking about. And at the same time, not everybody has all the different cable channels. And you know what? There are some people who don't have any of the cable channels. And that's the truth. There are still people where it's like, hey, guess what? It's whatever stations I get on the digital band of what I get from myself locally. And that's the other thing. That's the other reason why TV's not going anywhere anytime soon is because, okay, I need local news. I need local news. Or the other part is, okay, I want sports.
Right.
Now if you're gonna make me go other places for sports, maybe. But right now, for the most part, sports is. I mean, I will say that some of sports are running into cable now, but otherwise, I mean, a lot of it's regular TV.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Answer to my question. Thank you. Yeah. So that's because it's like, it's like once upon a time, they used to say, and of course you hear me quote this a lot, the whole 200 shows on TV and nothing's on. So you're just like, when does it get to that point? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, to answer your question, though,
Yes.
I don't think that it's 200 shows and nothing's on. I think there's a lot of things on, but because there's so many places to get content at this point, it becomes a question of what it costs and how much it is to create it and what it is. And as a result, there is a lot of stuff where you sit there and go, oh, garbage. And the reason why there's so much garbage, what you call garbage is, I mean, what you and I call garbage, somebody else might love. I mean, I'm not a team
No, I get what you're saying. I mean, your passers, you know, you got your keepers, you got your passers. You know?
Well, I mean, like, for example, look, I'm not a teen mom person, but I can tell you right now that there's an audience for it, because obviously people, or, you know, whatever the hell's on VH1 these days that people watch, I don't even know.
Well, no, I mean, that's because they're not of the pop culture strength that they once used to be. You know, when
is it that they're not of the pop culture? You know, it's funny. On my Facebook feed today, popped up because I don't know why I had it up there, but the VMAs when the Video Music Awards, when it was Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Madonna.
Okay.
And Madonna comes down, where the two of them are singing Like a Virgin, then Madonna shows up and then kisses Britney Spears on basically on the radio.
Yeah, that was the big deal. That was a...
Right, which is a big deal. And I'm kind of like sitting here, I'm like, is that the last major explosive VMA moment that I mean, because seriously, I think there were VMA announcements recently, and I'm kind of like, why? You don't even do music on your freaking channel anymore, or at least you don't seem to. I mean,
no, I mean VH1 is basically.
Well, I mean, I'm talking MTV, but even VH1 too. I mean, you don't.
Well, yeah, I mean it's become B grade MTV. VH1. MTV tried to be a real commercial station and, you know, kind of imploded on itself.
Well, VH1 was catering to the older audience that grew up when MTV started. And then...
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean...
And now it's all weird reality. It's all kinds of crazy reality shows. And
that's all it is now.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just bullshit. I mean, I call it MTV. There's music.
My favorite is MTV shows movies now. I'm like, what? Why couldn't you just show videos?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was created. When back in the 80s, when that whole thing exploded. Right. I mean, that was a revelation, man. It was just like, wow, you know, I can actually go down, and then it spawned all these knockoffs.
Yeah, in the 90s when they tried to break out with original content, you know, they had Liquid Television, and then they tried variety comedy shows, and The Real World was there too when that started.
Yeah, they had the Flux, which became a cult favorite. People are still looking for. In fact, speaking of, just for a couple of seconds, animated vinyl just came out on Cowboy Bebop, the soundtrack. Beautiful splatter vinyl, beautiful stuff, nice innards, really great shit. But okay, back to Eon Flux Jam, which is now
cult favorite. There was a bunch of, there were some shows. I mean, look, MTV did do some shows, and they were legit for what they were, and that weren't technically music, but at the same time, you still had shows about artists and music.
Right, exactly. Headbangers.
First in it, and even if at some point, yeah, I mean, like I even remember, I can't remember when it was, sometime in the 2000s, because you know, trust me, I used to work overnight. I remember this kind of shit, which is I'd come home to go to bed, and they were still running music videos on VH1. It's only been probably about 10, 15 years since they stopped running music videos on VH1. Although now that I'm saying that sounds like a long time ago. Holy shit.
It's almost a generation ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's the scary part is it's like, I mean, because seriously, I remember mid 2000s, they were still running they were still running overnight. They were still running like Insomniac Theater or whatever the hell it was, where they would run they run videos, or, every so often you catch MTV doing it on overnight,
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then, I just had a revelation. Okay, everybody talks about, money for nothing and and your chicks for free, A whole generation from now, they're not going to understand what MTV is.
Yeah, I've thought about that for a while.
That reference is now going to be lost to future generations because
forget that. I mean, I just don't. I wonder. It's funny you say that. I wonder what, like, kids today who see MTV think of MTV today, and what it is versus what we thought it was.
If they were to go ahead and do a round table with a bunch of kids, run some old footage from the original MTV, and don't tell them that it's MTV, and then they'll just kind of see whatever comes up of that. You see how many of them would actually know what it actually is,
Well, who was it? There's somebody who's online who does stuff like that where.
Yeah, there's internet videos where you show kids stuff from.
Yeah, they show kids
right.
like
It's
that.
like the one where they're trying to figure out how to use a rotary phone or whatever.
Well, no,
I saw the one where they were trying to work a record player. I did see that one.
I can't remember what the name of the Facebook site is where they do where they've done that stuff where they'll have Michael Jackson and they'll play Michael Jackson stuff. And they'll just watch the kids' reactions to the stuff. Or
right.
I think my favorite was the Madonna one because Madonna changed her look so many times that there were kids who were literally "Oh, is that the same person? I didn't realize that was Madonna too." But some of the comments that they'll make on some of this stuff, they played AC/DC for the kids, and it was why is no one guy wearing short pants? I seriously, I mean, it's the part where you're like, God, I didn't even think of stuff you're like, oh my God, that's
these poor depraved children.
Well, that's how things were back then.
Right. Well, it's not even
that's
that.
How we
it's
just
their perspective. It's just their perspective. They're not looking at it the same way we do it, and so it's they'll look at stuff and they'll be like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Then there's the meme where it's okay, well, it's going to be hot out, so dress for the 90s, and then everyone dresses like the garish, colored, parachute pants 90s clothes.
Yeah.
Loose fitting. I remember having that loose fitting jacket like that from the 90s. Yeah, those were bad.
I always laugh about stuff like that.
The Michael Jackson jackets from the 80s going over something too.
Well, yeah, but that's not even the 90s. I mean, the part I laugh about is when they pull out all that stuff from all that stuff from the 90s, and then I'm sitting there going, well, if you really want me to pull out my flannel from the 90s, I'll be more than happy to. I was comfortable. But, if you want to, because as usual, when they make that joke, they look past the Generation X people again.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, so I have one thing I did want to mention, which is, and I don't know how much you guys will or won't know some of these stories, but so Newsarama had a vote from their readership, which I'm already putting giant disclaimer flags up to, about the best Marvel comic stories of all time.
Okay.
So number 10 was, and again, this is the comics. Number 10 is an X-Men story. It's Days of Future Past.
Yep.
I don't know if you know that story or not.
Yeah, I read the synopsis after the movie.
You did?
Okay.
But
how they changed it around where.
Yeah. Right. Number 9 was Annihilation. I'll admit that I did not read Annihilation. I don't know nearly enough about it. But again, this is kind of opening up their cosmic part of the universe.
Number 8 is the Fantastic Four Coming of Galactus, which is a phenomenal story because you also get the Silver Surfer in there, and it's the first appearance of Galactus, and Galactus is one of the big bads.
Yep, he's
literally
the biggest.
Right. Number 7 is Daredevil Born Again, which is the Frank Miller Daredevil stuff. This is I don't know if it's right before or after all the Dark Knight stuff that Frank Miller did, but maybe around the same time. But this is kind of like, if you're going to read anything about if you're going to read Daredevil stuff and you want to know why people are just so enthralled, this is probably a good place to start. Is there. Number 6 is Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars.
It's from the 80s?
I gotta be honest. Yeah, from the 80s, which I gotta be honest with you. This should be higher. This should be higher, and the reason this should be higher is because, honestly, it doesn't get its due. I think that there are generations who don't realize just how big Secret Wars was and how important it is.
I remember seeing the Secret Wars toys, the action figures, in concurrence with the comics.
Well, and here's the thing. So a couple of things about Secret Wars, which is one of the reasons Secret Wars existed is because they had got wind that DC was putting together Crisis of Infinite Earths, and Marvel put this thing together, kind of threw this thing together because they wanted to be out first before Crisis on Infinite Earths. And they kind of threw this whole concept together. And one of the things they did, it's the only time I've ever seen this concept work, which is they basically set all their titles at a certain point after the events of Secret Wars. So a lot of things had changed after Secret Wars from the status quo. Like, for example, all of a sudden the Fantastic Four had She-Hulk.
Ivan?
Not the Thing.
Ivan.
What?
Can you do me a favor and just mute your mic for a minute?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I mean, that's part of it. And then that's also where the black suit, which eventually became Venom, is where that came out of. Again, there were a lot of changes that were made, basically, everybody's like, oh my God, there were a lot of changes in a lot of the status quo of Marvel, and the answer was, if you want to know what happened, you better pick up Secret Wars. And so that was kind of an important thing. They basically built that in that way, and I don't know of any other series that has ever done the 1 year later kind of thing or after the major event kind of thing as well as Marvel did with Secret Wars. But they've got that at 6. And I don't know.
It doesn't have as much punch with this generation, maybe, so.
Well, it's funny because now
they didn't live through it.
What's funny is now that they have all the characters that they have access to, I think they might try to do one for a movie. I think they might try to do it.
Well, they know they have to try and top Infinity War and Endgame. And what better way would be with this? What's the next big baddie? They're going to bring MODOK? They're going to bring Dr. Doom, maybe?
Well, it's got to be Dr. Doom. Yeah. It's got to be Dr. Doom. Although there's a lot of options now. I mean, like, for example, here, number 5 is Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And that's a huge story for the X-Men.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that was kind of a big deal where they did that. I remember that. Number 4 now, in fairness, number 4 is Civil War. Obviously Civil War was a big deal for Marvel.
It was a big deal. What was it? Like, when was that? Early 2000s?
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of where, it's funny because really there was no real villain in this. There was just basically, it was 2 points of view.
Two ideologies.
And this is where Spider-Man also reveals himself to
Mm-hmm.
Peter Parker. So that's kind of a big deal as well. I'm a big fan of this particular one. I think that's probably in the right spot for that. We finally get, at number 3, we finally get a Spider-Man story. We finally get Amazing Spider-Man the night that Gwen Stacy died.
Right, where Green Goblin, Yeah.
Yeah. And number 2 is the Dark Phoenix saga, which, look, you're going to get a ton of X-Men, and this is probably the big X-Men story of all X-Men stories, so that makes sense. And you can take a wild guess what number 1 is.
It's Infinity War.
Yeah, which is Infinity Gauntlet or something.
Yeah, Infinity Gauntlet or whatever you want to call it. When Thanos was, he wanted to be Death's boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, I remember I saw this one video of the old 80s Hanna-Barbera Super Friends and Superpowers team, where Darkseid, voiced by Frank Welker, and just all he wanted to do was like try and hook up with Wonder Woman. It's like someone made like a 10-minute video of Darkseid just being like, Wonder Woman shall be my bride. It's like,
that's funny.
It's like, I'll get Wonder Woman and she'll be mine. It's like, wow. He's like, and people, the comment section be all like, oh yeah, Darkseid totally has like a Wonder Woman body pillow or whatever. It's like he's a total weeb and wants that backside of Dark. But yeah, so like
to go to the dark side with Wonder Woman.
The Infinity Gauntlet had the Infinity War and Endgame had nothing to do with Thanos wanting to be someone's boyfriend. So.
Well, the other thing is, and the comic is very, very different.
Yeah, the comic is very different.
What's interesting is, and again, this is a reader vote, so keep that in mind. But it's interesting to me how many of those stories are X-Men stories, and what's missing out of that is there isn't like, okay, here's this great Thor story. Okay, here's this great Captain America story. There isn't really even an Avengers story there. I mean, unless you want to count Civil War, but that's not an Avengers story.
Like the Avengers, they've had all kinds of obviously all kinds of stories, but no Avengers stories really stand out because it was all of Marvel, not just the Avengers. Right.
Well, that's the other thing which is interesting, which is one Fantastic Four story, which is just the one story about Galactus, not any Doctor Doom stories.
No.
One Spider-Man story. I mean,
you said 2 X-Men stories?
No, more than 2.
Oh, it's more than 2.
God. Yeah. No, there were more. There were more than 2. There were at least 3 or 4 on that list.
Oh yeah, exactly. It was Dark Phoenix, Annihilation. Apocalypse.
No, Annihilation wasn't one of them, but Apocalypse is
Apocalypse
one.
and Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past. I can't remember, but there were at least 3.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because it's like there's one Daredevil story, there's one Spider-Man story, there's one Fantastic Four story. Now, in fairness, Secret Wars and Civil War had a lot of all those characters in it.
Yeah.
So you could technically go there, but
being for like the younger people and the younger readers, there's no definitive, like a really good Deadpool story. Is there? I mean, sure, there've been some good books, but has Deadpool had some really like meaty material? Not just him, it wasn't all frivolity and just him making, like lewd jokes. I'm sure there's got to be some meat in there inside of all that.
My problem is Deadpool's not a character I've read regularly, so I can't answer that one. Just like
Andy is relatively new because we're still talking about X-Men stories from the 60s and 70s, so.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting part is a lot of, look at what the X-Men stories are that got listed. Yeah. There's nothing from back in the closest thing to back in the day is the Dark Phoenix story, and that's from the 80s when I was a kid. I mean, when I was like, 10, 12, somewhere in there.
So, okay, we're back. We had some technical difficulties. We talked at the beginning of the show about a storm that came through just before we started. And sure enough, they must have been switching over power grids or something, and I lost power on my end. And I swore some swear words, and they were bad. So now we're back, and Jeff was just finishing up his comments on the top 10 Marvel comics that the one website had put out.
To give perspective, I will try to do this in the best Shatner I can. Fuck, the power went out. The power is back on. Rebooting. Hoping there's an emergency save in there. Waiting for the router to reboot.
Scotty, we need that power.
And we need it now. Again, it's a reader created list. It is Newsarama, so obviously they get a good amount of readership. I just thought it was interesting to see where the stories fell. I mean, there are some older stories in there. The Spider-Man story is one of the older ones. The Fantastic Four is one of the older ones. The Daredevil one as well. Certainly Secret Wars would fall into older. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting because for the most part, when you're talking about the actual comics, it seems like the big X-Men events are a big deal. And, if you're a Marvel fan, like I was saying, I think, there's two aspects of Marvel, which is, do you read the X-Men or do you not read the X-Men? And there are people who read Marvel and don't even touch X-Men books. There's some people where it's like all they read is the X-Men books and they don't read anything else. If it doesn't have an X-Men in it, they're not really all that interested.
Yeah. Well, DC, from what I've read, what I'm told, is that DC's doing good stories right now and Marvel is less as such. Marvel's books have not been too exceptional. I tried to follow a little bit of this. What was going on with the Empire with a Y with the current Marvel series? But I don't know. For a while I was with the build up to Batman number 50, where they did the whole wedding with Selena Kyle, and I followed that for a little while, and that was interesting. But now I've not been reading books. Actually, there was something I meant to do when I was on vacation 2 weeks ago. I was going to finally sit and read Kingdom Come. And I know it's a really good story, one of the best DC stories, but I just haven't made the time. And like when Scotty says, if things are important, you make the time. But I haven't made the time yet. But I have the book. It's on my nightstand. I just need to pick it up.
It's there are certain and again, it's funny. That's a conversation that would be interesting too, which is the greatest DC stories of all time. And certainly, if you created a list like that, without question, it would be very Batman heavy.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which is the last pre-crisis Superman story by Alan Moore. I imagine that goes on the list. Technically, The Watchmen goes on that list, even though it's not. Well, now it's considered part of DC canon.
Yeah, so. Now they've interwoven. Was it Doomsday Clock or something like that, where they interwove?
Yeah, the Doomsday Clock thing.
Yeah.
So that's obviously Watchmen falls into that. The two Frank Miller books, obviously, the original Dark Knight Returns, and then Batman Year One are huge.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what else.
Now, I know you're more of a DC, you're more of a Teen Titans, but I mean, if there was one from this top 10 list, if there's one story missing from this top 10 list, what would it be, and where would it be in your top 10?
It's funny you say that. That was my problem. Was if you sat there and said to me, okay, the problem is I'm not a huge Marvel reader. And so this becomes the problem is I'm kind of like sitting here going, okay, I feel like there should be an Avengers story or there should be a Spider-Man story, another Spider-Man story, and it's not here. And I'm not sure. The problem is I don't know what you really displace either, by the way. The stories that they've chosen are all very solid stories. There's not one of them I would sit there and say, well, I shouldn't say that. My problem is I've never read Annihilation, so I can't answer that.
So you have you're neutral on that.
So I can't sit there and go, well, I get rid of Annihilation. Well, I would get rid of Annihilation because I've never read it, and that would be the only reason why I would do that. And that's not fair. That's where my headache was as I'm trying to like kind of sit there and think about, great Spider-Man stories. And there are some great Spider-Man stories, but again, I'm trying to think arc-wise, okay, what would be one where I'd be like, absolutely, that's gotta be, right there at the top, other than like the Gwen Stacy one. And I'm not, it's not clicking at the moment.
You can't
really
pick
not.
one right now?
I can't. Well, it's funny. The one story that immediately comes to mind is not one that I would sit there and say is the greatest Spider-Man story ever.
But it's to you. You connect with it.
I've always enjoyed it, and I have a very rare trade paperback for it, which is the there was a Marvel crossover called Acts of Vengeance, and basically the long and the short of it was all the Marvel villains kind of got together and they switched up villains, and the idea was just to throw off each hero's game because they weren't used to dealing with that kind of a villain. And at the time when this was going on, Spider-Man somehow, and I can't remember how it happens, but Spider-Man ends up absorbing the powers of Captain Universe. So this is what's known, and it's only happened once. We've only had a story like this once, which is better known as the Cosmic Spidey story, where literally Spider-Man is like on level with like, one of the biggest the biggest powers in the galaxy. I mean, he can fly. His spider sense is so powerful that it hurts him because it goes off that heavily. He literally can go toe to toe with the Hulk without a problem. That kind of stuff. He can fire blasts from his hands. What if Spider-Man had the abilities of like one of the really, really powerhouses of the Marvel Universe. And it's interesting because, Dr. Doom at this point is fascinating because, it's power and, Dr. Doom would like to siphon away said power. Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, Loki somehow gets involved and like mystically fuses 3 Sentinels together to make something called a Tri-Sentinel that they end up sending up against the Cosmic Spidey. And it's a pretty good battle. Like I said, I have the trade. I have the trade, and it's rare. It's hard to find that one. I happened to see it one day, and I picked it up, in the 90s. And I have friends of mine who are like, "I can't believe you have that." I'm like, "Yep." And every so often I'll pick it up and read it because it's good stories. And I can't remember who's doing the art from back then, but it might have been one of the Image guys. But yeah. But that's a solid Spider-Man story. I enjoy it. But I liked a lot of the Straczynski stuff from the early 2000s when he was writing Spider-Man. But if you asked me to sit there and say, okay, what exactly are the runs that made the most sense that were great, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. And I haven't read enough Captain America to sit there and say that. I'm trying to think if there was an Iron Man. I mean, the only thing that was interesting is there's nothing on Iron Man about, Tony Stark dealing with the alcoholism. Now that's interesting that it's not there at all.
Currently the Acts of Vengeance omnibus is currently going for like $300.
Well, this isn't the omnibus.
Okay.
This is entirely different.
Okay.
This wasn't, I don't even know if it falls into the omnibus. This is just, the Cosmic Spidey story. I don't know if that's, but yeah, that's my problem is I'm kind of like sitting here with Marvel going, the only other thing I keep thinking is there should be a major Doctor Doom story here. But I guess the answer to that question is Secret Wars.
Yeah, he plays into that. Yeah.
Right, he's kind of the big bad at the end of the day on Secret Wars. So I guess there's your Doctor Doom bad guy story, because the truth is, as much as everybody wants to talk about Thanos being a big bad, the only reason why the MCU went to Thanos is because they didn't have the rights to Doctor Doom.
And they didn't have Galactus either, did they?
Right, they didn't have Galactus either, because he's again fantastic.
And who gives a shit about MODOK? So.
You just really keep wanting to throw MODOK.
I just like to say MODOK. It's like,
MODOK.
He's a villain. I'm a terrible villain, nasty villain. My name is MODOK. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well.
So, okay, we have another news stories, or we wrapping this up?
The only other thing I can think of is, that you guys, I think both of you and Ivan will get a kick out of this. So, I guess there's a new Avengers game that's coming out for PC and PlayStation.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine who was over yesterday, and he was playing it up because he's a big Captain America guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll check it out." And remember when the first trailer came out, and everyone's all like, "Oh, those don't look like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans," but I'm sure there's going to be lots of skins where you can probably be a little bit more. I mean, I know there's going to be a Hulk skin that looks like Lou Ferrigno. I think that's awesome. But yeah, go ahead. So Sony is what's up with Sony?
They made an announcement that one of the post-launch characters that will be available for play is that you'll have access to Spider-Man, but there's a catch. It'll only be available for Sony PlayStation.
Oh, so if you've got an Xbox, you're boned.
Or a PC, you don't get access.
And PC,
Right.
Because there's still a lot of those hardcore PC gamers.
Right. I mean, I have a PC. I might consider it. But so if you don't have a Sony PlayStation,
and you don't get no Spider-Man,
you'll get no Spider-Man. So there's a lot of people angry. But I gotta be honest. If I'm Sony and I own the rights to Spider-Man on some level, yeah, I think you can just fold your arms and say, too bad. It's not even too bad. It's hey, you know what? I have games. Look. Let's be honest. If they didn't have a game platform, they wouldn't do it. They got a game platform.
And we got a PS5 coming out.
Right, we got a PS5 coming out. Here's an idea. Well, let's make this the only way you can play that character. I don't want you on an Xbox. I want you on our game system.
That's right.
Here, we're going to make a special perk for people who play Sony PlayStation.
And a lot of Spider-Man fans already got the PlayStation so they could play the new Spidey game, which I've heard is like super good. The latest Spider-Man game that came out about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there are people who are Xbox and PC fans who are not very happy. It's like, it's not fair. It's like, well.
That's Sony.
Yeah,
Sony is Spider-Man, so they ain't gonna let go of it.
Right. Well, and that's the part I laugh about is I get that side of it. At the same time, if I own Spider-Man and I mean, again, let's really put this in perspective. If Sony didn't own a game console and had no dog in the fight, they wouldn't do it.
No.
Once they have one, why would you want to let Xbox
use your character, right?
Yeah, no, or PC.
Right.
No, I get it entirely. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be out on PS4, so I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out, but.
Well, like I said, I just thought it was funny because it's like there are a lot of nerd fans who are very, very nerd raging and upset about it. And
such is life.
Nerd's
gonna nerd rage.
You said something about Captain Marvel. Is there?
Yeah, I guess
news?
They've picked a director for Captain Marvel 2. Don't know who. I can't recall the name of the person offhand. But things are in the works for whatever Phase 4 or whatever we're working towards MCU with everything being pushed back. But
yeah.
So Ivan, how you doing over there?
I'm doing good.
Okay, good. Glad to hear your air conditioner is fully functional and operational.
You need my grease box?
Yeah.
Air conditioner's off.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because we're still getting a background noise, so it's your fan, or I guess. That's all good.
The only other thing I've got is, I guess, Hulu made an announcement that November is going to be the new Animaniacs stuff.
I'm interested in that.
I know, me too. I may have to pick
Yeah, I know.
Hulu for
Ron
that.
Paulson's been teasing on it for a year on Twitter.
Right. Yeah, Rob Paulson doing his, Zack Snyder impression.
Yakko.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was...
And the brain, of course.
Yeah, Yakko, Wacko, Dot. That's the only thing I haven't figured out. Is it only those 5? Because, Animaniacs was more than those 5 characters, so I'm kind of curious if we're going to see, Buttons and Mindy, or if we're going to see Minerva Minx, or if we're going to see...
Or Chicken Boo.
Chicken Boo, or the pigeons that are like the good fellas, or Slappy Squirrel. Slappy Squirrel I like for some strange reason.
No, I like Slappy Squirrel. Yeah,
I think at least some, if not all of them, are going to come back. It's not going to be the Animaniacs.
Right. Well, if anything, I'd be I'll tell you who I'd love to see added, but I don't think it'll happen. It'd be awesome if Freakin'
my point of it, I'd like to see more Minervas.
I'm sure you would, Ivan.
Oh yeah, well, it's a dynamic character. Just like in the original run, they only ran her for only a few episodes, and then even lesser comic book distribution. She kind of just came and went, but the fandom is huge.
Yeah, well, the fandom is huge with a fandom that, quite frankly, probably isn't the fandom they were looking for.
I knew you were going to go there.
Well, I mean, that's the truth. Which is, this is supposed to be a kids show, and when
look no further than the Sonic fandom. That's some scary shit in there, man.
Yeah, that's why I kind of laugh when everybody sits there and says you're bashing the furry community, but it's like that's some shit that's going on over there.
I think they're okay with being punching bags. I mean, they're familiar. They're happy and they're comfortable in their own skin. They know what they're about, and they don't give a shit. They're doing their thing.
True. They're comfortable.
To any stretch of the imagination, okay, yeah, you know what? Every fandom has got their weirdos, and
that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Every fandom is inhabited by people, which makes every fandom terrible.
Well, okay, unfortunately, we can't be all droids and aliens and, tribbles, whatever have you, but that's just how it is. You get the weird, you get the geek, you get the weird, and then you get the freaking super weird, where they're just like, they live, eat, sleep, and breathe the shit, and it's just like,
yeah.
Well, and there's a bunch of levels to that too, because it's like, it really kind of depends on what you're running into or who you're running into. Like, every one of the geek level stuff has this stuff. Like, there's a part of me where they're truly hardcore gamer Gen Con people, just gamer people kind of make me roll my eyes, because it's like, I swear to God, it's like they bring like a little trolley with all their shit, and it's piled a mile high, and they've got like a huge duffel bag, and you think they were going like cross country.
I need all my monster manuals.
Right, and I need my minis, and I packed a whole cooler full of food because I don't want to pay for nothing.
And I want to walk all the way back to my hotel room. Screw that.
Well, in fairness, hold on a second. In fairness, the hotel room's pretty far at that point.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're playing, I get it. But I mean, there's those guys, and then there's the weird cosplay guys, and then
don't get Jeff started on the cosplayers.
No, I didn't go there, but then there's the people at the comic book, there is really those guys. Like, there's a reason why comic book guy from The Simpsons that makes people laugh is because that guy exists.
Oh yeah,
right.
That guy really does exist.
As in most of the things that end up in The Simpsons,
I kind of went comic book guy on at the going away party for my coworker. We had a cake made, and they were like with the frosting, made with frosting. They had like screwdrivers and wrenches and bolts and stuff. And there was a hex nut with a square hole in it. So I said, "Good luck threading that hex nut. So inaccurate." Ugh. And I got a couple of chuckles from my coworkers. But yeah, there's a dude out there who is legit upset over something like that. Just something superficial like that. It's like, Captain America's star should not be pointed in that direction. It's off center. It's too awful.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I've been in panels.
Panels. Oh yeah, you get the stupid questions.
It's like in issue so and so of volume 2 on the third page in panel number 7, it shows this. But then when you go to the next page, it says this. What exactly is going on here?
Worst episode ever.
That was perfect.
There really are guys like that. Or like, if continuity doesn't make it's like, because in issue this and issue that and this, so therefore you must have this and this and issue this, and it's like, and the worst part is there was an entire generation of writers who were like, for a while, who would be like, yeah, we don't care about continuity, we just want to tell good stories.
My canon, my personal head canon is ruined.
Yeah, you just exploded a whole bunch of people's minds.
Yeah.
Speaking of blowing minds.
Yeah, Ivan, what you got going on this week?
What do I got going on this week? Well, let's see. I know I have the Sweet Soulful Sunday happening on Sunday.
Okay. Just as long as it's not on Thursday.
No.
I'm sure it's not on Friday.
The Sweet Soulful Sunday. When are you going to air? When's it going to air?
It's going to air.
What day of the week?
What panel?
Go ahead, Ivan. I'm sorry.
Okay. I mean, I've been patient. Okay, so yeah, it's just Sweet Soulful Sunday because of the fact it happens at the arcade. Logan Arcade, they're underwriting it, so yeah, it's going to be on Twitch, and that'll be from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's going to be all this primo, some really deep, rhythm, blues, and soul music. In fact, I was listening to a bunch of it before I came on the show tonight, and I was just having a good time with it. And then let's see. After that, then I have the Satchel Night, which is on that that'll be on the Wednesday. The 45 Satchel, which of course that'll be from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Also a Logan Arcade event.
Is that Wednesday the 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And those times are central.
Yeah, all times are central. Yeah. And then I should be following up with a Twitch on Friday, the 21st, from 7 to 11. The theme is to still be determined yet. I've got a few ideas in the flyers. Then the Scooter Sound supporting the National Health Services. I got the last slot on UK time. So over there, over here I'll be playing at 2. And then I'll be playing from 2 to 4, which over there it'll be 9 to 11. So I'm doing a couple hours for them on that particular session. And then I got a spinning wheel session on the following Sunday, which that'll be also a late night session. Well, for us here in the States, it'll also be from 2 to 4 in the afternoon that Sunday. Let's see. I think that's it for right now.
Okay,
as far as
you can listen to Ivan on Twitch at JAVANIVAN. That's Jivan Ivan with lots of A's. On twitch.tv or download the app.
Yes.
Yeah, unlike normal, I actually have a couple things to talk about for once.
Really?
So Thursday afternoon, I am technically the main speaker for the District 30 Toastmasters Leadership Institute training, talking about evaluation. So I am doing that session on Thursday afternoon, which is about 2:00. And unfortunately, I will over the weekend. I am doing the D6 Star Wars gaming over the weekend, so I've got that going on. So if there are people who are looking for some online or old school paper dice with virtual by all means, drop us a line and I can help get to that. And as you guys are aware, and I'll let our listeners know, I am not going to be on our next show because I'm crossing my fingers and toes that I get picked as one of the presenters for the Moth as a teller next Monday night. So
you're going to get it. I already have you there.
Well, the problem is there are a lot of people who put in to be tellers and they only have 8 slots. So they pick names out of a hat. So the question is will I be one of the 8? And then I'm working on a piece about enthusiasm. The irony is, you guys have actually heard the piece. I actually pulled that story I talked to you guys about a couple weeks ago about the trip to the strip club.
Right.
With the snake and the giant lady, about how enthusiasm sometimes isn't always.
I think that's from episode 109, I think.
Something like that, yeah. So I'm using that as although I am a little nervous, I will admit I'm tempted to pull an audible because
well, look,
I'm just nervous. I'm nervous about there might be, all I need is one woman to go, strip club.
Yeah, well, you know what? Those are the chances you take for greatness there, Jeff, because I know. Well, look, you're going to always have some of your detractors out there, but you know what? But then you're going to have the majority of the room getting the point. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to kind of choose your battles. When it comes to that whole presenting thing, I mean, I'm mortified like 30 minutes before I have to go hit the riser and shit. But then once I get up there and I hit the one couple of records in there, then I'm locked in. So yeah, dude, if that's what makes you feel good, go after it, man.
No, that's not the issue. Again, there's a fan vote involved. So I'm doing
all the tracking for you, my brother. I mean, this is my wish for you. I'm wishing this for you.
Right. Well, and for those who are not aware, so the Moth is a national, and maybe even international at this point, but I think definitely national. It's a national thing where it's a storytelling competition, and basically they pick 8 people out of a hat, names out of a hat. And and basically, usually there's judges, but on this particular occasion, because it's virtual, everybody's voting. So everybody will get a vote, and the winner goes on to the City Slam. And so I would like to qualify for said City Slam. I've never done a Moth before. This would be my first time doing it. And so this would be interesting. This is interesting on a lot of levels. But we'll see. I'll try. I'll certainly have.
I'm just doing long track, dude, and I'm just going to say you got this, and you know what, and every opportunity will present it in of its own self anyhow. So it's going to be, But anyway, yeah, that's great, dude. I'm happy for you, dude. I mean, that's great.
Well, like I said, we'll see where this goes. I'll certainly probably have stuff to talk about on the following show to let you guys know how things, if I just didn't get picked or what happened or anything like that, but.
That's cool.
So yeah, I actually have a couple of things going on. So yeah, but speaking of things going on, where can they find us? And by the way, Mike, where can we find us on Twitter? Because I'm now on Twitter and I can't find you.
We're on Twitter and Instagram at SOTRT Podcast, and we're on YouTube. Click the bell, subscribe. You know when you get new content. And, of course, all these crazy stories we talk about on our extra show, News at the Squared, you can find out on our Facebook page. Shout out to Scott. And you can download the show on all your popular podcast hosting platforms, i.e. Spotify, Google, Apple, PodBean, Anchor, Spotify. And you can email us through, if not, you don't send a private message through Facebook, through that. You can do that too. Or just send us an email if you got that old, dial-up, that AOL or whatever. SOTRTpodcast at gmail.com. So that'll do part 2. Yeah. We had to put parts 1 and 2 together of episode 11D1. So happy birthday, Bilbo, and we'll see y'all next week.